Hi, Tom here with this week's Circle Line Art School Drawing Challenge. How to draw a room with an archway using 1-point perspective. The first step in this pencil drawing is to draw a horizontal line towards the base of your paper. And then we can draw a vanishing point to the right of the centre of this line. This is the point where all parallel lines which are receding will look like they meet. And because it's 1-point perspective, we have one vanishing point. Next, we can draw a vertical line for one side of the archway to the left of the vanishing point and to the left of the centre of the paper that you're using. And this will be for the left-hand side of the archway. Then we can read across the top of this line towards the right, and then just to the right of the vanishing point, we can draw another vertical line for the right-hand side of the archway. Then work out the middle point between these two vertical lines, and then towards the top of your paper draw a dot, and then draw a curve to the right-hand side, and then mirror that curve as best you can to the left-hand side, and then you'll have a symmetrical archway. We can make these lines darker. Next, using the vanishing point, we can start to draw a line from the left-hand vertical side of the archway to the vanishing point. We only need the start of these lines really. We can draw another line at the same height on the right-hand side, again going to the vanishing point. And then at the top point of the archway, we can draw a third line to the vanishing point. Again, really focusing on the first part of the line, but the line goes all the way to the vanishing point. Next, we can redraw the curve of the arch on the left, in this way giving the archway a thickness that is using the lines that go towards the vanishing point, starting at the top of the arch and then following the curve around the left-hand side of the arch, and then just a parallel line with the vertical upright on the left. And then we can repeat the curve on the right, but because the right-hand side of the arch is nearer the vanishing point, the curve will be nearer the original curve, because we're looking at the archway at a stronger angle on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side we're not looking at the archway at such a strong angle, so we can see more of the thickness on the left than we can on the right. Once you've got this second line working, we can just go over it again and make it darker. So just following around the line that you made. So now we have the archway with its thickness, but we could draw patterned tiles on it going towards the vanishing point. And to do that, we can use the vanishing point to guide us for all of the lines which are receding from us, going from the original arch to the second line of arch, which is the thickness. Notice how these lines that are receding, when they are lower than the horizon line, they're going upwards. But when these lines are receding and they start above the horizon line, then they are facing downwards as they go towards the vanishing point. And then once we've done the left-hand side of the archway, we can do the right-hand side of the archway. But these receding lines for the tiles will seem to be an odd direction. But this is 1-point perspective. As long as you're using the vanishing point, the lines that you draw should be fine. For the tiles, you could look at the tiles on the left, the lines on the left, and match them up so that they are similar height on the right-hand side of the archway too. The next step is to draw a slightly larger shape of an arch. which would be best to imagine it's actually on the wall in which the arch goes through. So it's not receding or coming forwards, it's the same distance from us as the original arch shape that we drew at the beginning. Then, because it's not receding, all of these tiles that we've drawn which are receding to the vanishing point, we can draw the sides of the tiles, but this time all of these lines will be horizontal because they're not going away from us in one point perspective. They're staying the same distance from us, the viewer. They're not coming forwards or going away, and therefore they're just a series of horizontal lines on the left and the right of the archway, so that we've got the thickness of the tiles of the arch. So you can add these lines all the way around the arch, but as these lines curve around the curved part of the archway, imagine that they're not going to the vanishing point, but they're going to a point in the center of the base of the curve of the arch. So at the top of the two horizontal lines, but in the middle, at a point there, these edge tile lines would look like they meet in the middle there. It's not the vanishing point because they're not receding from us. Next, we can use the vanishing point to sketch a rectangle in perspective, which is beyond the archway that we're looking through. The receding lines of this rectangle will go towards the vanishing point. Now we can draw a horizontal line below our original horizontal line, as we are going to draw another archway using exactly the same process, the same technique as we used in the first archway, using our one vanishing point. Make sure that the right-hand side of the new smaller archway is on the right-hand side of the vanishing point, and the top point of the archway, well, that just needs to look right, so you might need to move it around. Beyond this second archway, you could draw a wall on the left, and the receding lines, the top and bottom lines of this wall on the left, will go towards our vanishing point. Then we can draw a small rectangle for the back of the wall of the room, and the right-hand side of the room can be just right of the vanishing point. I will raise the height of the room at the back just by raising the height of the back wall, the back rectangle, and then using the vanishing point to find the receding lines. Then we can draw another arch shape around the arch, just as we did on the first front arch, and we can just repeat that in exactly the same way with all of the tiles of the arch going towards the vanishing point. I'm going to use the receding lines to draw some lines on the wall of the back room which recede to the vanishing point. Then, in the foreground, on the left-hand side of the front nearest arch, we can draw two horizontal lines either side of the parts of the arch which are vertical, and then on the left-hand side we could draw a vertical line and repeat that on the right-hand side, and now our original arch is within a wall which has edges to the left and the right. Then, using the vanishing point, we can draw a series of lines which recede to the vanishing point and come from the vanishing point to show the direction of the wall. And we can do that on the left and the right. Two receding lines on the left and two receding lines on the right. Then, on the left-hand side, why don't we draw a window? So to do that, draw two vertical lines, and then the top and the bottom of the window will go away from us towards the vanishing point, because these shapes that are receding are all parallel to each other. Next, because we've got stripes in the background, I think we could extend the lines of the tiles, the horizontal lines of the tiles on the left, and then we could just extend them on the right as well, so that it could be a striped wall. At least the lower half of the wall I think I'll make striped. So these stripes are horizontal, but then on the far left of the drawing we can use the vanishing point, because horizontal stripes at an angle in perspective will look like they're getting smaller as they go towards the vanishing point, and we can do that on the left and the right. Then we can repeat the same process for the second archway, which is through the first archway that we drew. So we're drawing a vertical line on the left hand side so that the archway is on a wall which stops with this vertical line on the left, and then we could probably just pop in another window quite low down, again using the vanishing point for the receding lines which go towards the vanishing point, the top and the bottom of the window, but the vertical lines of the windows stay vertical. Then this rectangular slab in the room that we're looking into, we could make this perhaps into like an indoor pond, and then we could draw a series of horizontal lines through the arch, and these horizontal lines will get closer together as they recede from us and get further away from us and go towards the vanishing point. Then we can draw a series of lines from the vanishing point across the floor coming towards us, and these sort of fan out, and this will make a grid using 1 point perspective on the floor, and we can make that look like tiles. Next, we probably have got a few too many lines, so we can use an eraser and just erase some of the guidelines that we no longer need. Then I think around the front arch I'll draw another line of the curve, and that will help when I think I'll add some shading to this drawing. So I'll just repeat the line on the inner archway too. And then as the wall comes towards us on the left, these lines will recede to the vanishing point, but the vertical lines which go around the window will stay vertical. And then there'll be one more line on the right which goes to the vanishing point because it's receding. Next, we could add some more lines in this first room through the first arch, and these lines could be receding pattern lines of stripes going sort of halfway or a third of the way up the wall on the right, and they're all receding to the vanishing point. The last step in this drawing really is to add some shading. So I think I'll start with the top part of the inner thickness of the window and shade that in with a 4B pencil, which is what I generally use. Shade that in with a dark tone and then a mid-tone on the side of the window. So that gives it some sort of tonal form. And then we could do the same with the window which is through the first arch, between the two arches, the same two tones. And now it's really up to you where you want to place more shading. So I think for my drawing, I'm going to make the back wall of the room, the lower back wall of the room at the back, I'll make that a mid-tone just with the side of the pencil. And then next, I think on this back wall, these horizontal lines, I'll make them look more like stripes. So they're sort of dark and light, or dark and mid-tone, dark and mid-tone. And then on the left, we could give that a mid-tone. And then again, these lines which are receding away, these stripes on the wall, we can make them darker, so that we're emphasizing the distance through the stripes on the wall and also giving it as a sort of decorative feature to the drawing. So next, I think this whole back wall, this very tall back wall for the back room, could be a mid-tone. And then the top area just below the arch, which would be the ceiling, could be a slightly darker tone. And then on the left hand side I'll also make that a tone, some shading. So we're looking through two arches to a room which has got some shading. And then for this interior pond, we could give that some tonal values too. And then we could add a shadow on the left hand side to give it a more three-dimensional quality. And then next we could shade in the thickness of the arch in the foreground on the right. Try to make the tones quite flat so that you don't have gaps in between the shading that you're doing, so it looks quite flat. That would be useful. And then on the left hand side it would be a slightly lighter tone, I think. And then what we can do, maybe I'll just add one more little tile and the sort of cornerstone at the top of the arch, is shade in every other of these tiles, almost like teeth. We can shade in every other one dark. Now on the front facing part of the tiles, I'll do them dark, but where the tiles are receding towards the vanishing point, I'll make them look even darker. So first of all, every other one just is dark. So we go all the way around on the left. And then it's just a matter of repeating it and going all the way around on the right hand side too. Sometimes these things seem like they're going to take ages, but if you just do them one by one, I always find it surprising. You sort of get, you get to a stage where it's finished quite quickly. So don't think how many there are to do, just do them one by one. That's what I'd advise. Then next, these darker ones. So just to get a dark tone, you just press down more firmly with the pencil point, and that should make a dark tone if you've got a half decent pencil. If you'd like to find out more about how to draw, please consider joining my online drawing courses. You can find out the details if you go to circlelineartschool.com. So next, we can just keep shading in until you've got the tones where you want them to be. So I think that there's sort of shading every other part of the tiles and every other part of the stripes on the walls would make sense. And then as you add shading, try not to add too much. It's easier to increase the shading. So you start off doing a little bit less than you think, and then over time you can build it up until the drawing sort of works for you. I find that's better than putting too much shading in at the beginning. So once you've put in the shading that you want, then you've got an interior of really the room that we're in. Then we're looking through the archway to another room, and then there's a further room, a third room at the back, and we've used lots of tones and shading and our one-point perspective to create the illusion of some depth and some solidity to this image. I hope you found this useful for your own drawings, and if you'd like to learn more about how to draw, particularly how to draw architecture, please visit circlelineartschool.com. Thanks for watching and see you next time. I post a new video every week.